All right, and welcome back to Shut Up and Ball. I am John Harris, joined by Aaron Chow. Today's the day. We're just going to jump straight into it. We are talking about our top 10 quarterback rankings. I feel like this has sort of been the thing, the rankings that have been building up because initially I planned to start with the QB rankings, but I felt like it was the most talked about position group. So I figured I'd save it for last. It was the last one we posted. I don't think we got actually too much hate on it. I think people, for the most part, agreed with most of our list was just like a few little tweaks here and there.
I was very surprised
Um,
about that. That was like the one that got the least amount of feed pushback.
yeah, which I think for you, I think it was well for both of us. I think it was where Tom Brady was placed. Because he won the Super Bowl, so most people were a little harsh on where we put him.
There's only one guy
Uh,
though, to be right. There's only one person. I think he's a Bucks fan too. So it was like,
yeah,
it was like, come on,
Yeah,
man.
and then for you, I think people maybe thought Josh Allen was a little high, and then for me, people were a little mad I didn't put Kyler Murray in there. But overall, it seemed like most people were pretty happy with our rankings. But Aaron, let's start with yours first.
Okay,
Who did you have in your top 10?
all right. So as you'll see, if you're watching on the YouTubes or the YouTube in general, video or stream. So here's my top 10, as John mentioned. So at 10, Ryan Tannehill. 9, Kyler Murray. 8, Lamar Jackson. 7, Dak Prescott. 6 is where I have Tom Brady. Number 5 is Desean Watson. 4 is Mr. Russell Wilson. 3, Josh Allen. 2, Aaron Rodgers. And 1 is Patrick Mahomes. Honestly, I almost put Josh Allen at 2. It was very, very close. Just because, you know, he had to be a lot more of the run game, basically be the run game for the Bills. He was their best runner. But for Rodgers have the edge just in terms of, his experience, taking care. Obviously, he takes care of the ball better. So that's where I give Rodgers the slight edge. And obviously, some people felt Josh was a little high in general. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Only, I think one person mentioned, and I'll grab that comment later. But they felt Russell Wilson should have been a step higher. So it should have been 3 instead of Josh Allen 4. But I put Josh Allen above Wilson just because it was all season long for Josh Allen. If Russell Wilson had kept the pace that he was at, he probably would have been 2, to be honest, or higher than 3. But as we all saw, not really his fault, but he didn't help the situation at times either. Those last 8 weeks of the season, so that's why I have my rankings there that way. Like I said, as a Packer fan, I know Mahomes is 1 and Rodgers is 2, so no real. Only other hard one was this was hard in general, but after 5, because it's like Tom. I thought about putting Dak over Tom, but the ankle injury, and then Lamar also. Like, I put Lamar over Dak. I just felt Dak's a little bit better of a thrower. Although Lamar is a better runner, so that was right there. And Kyler also was very close to making it up there. And then Ryan Tannehill, I know he's not a sexy name, but he has been pretty solid, and a big reason why the Titans have taken that next step on offense, even with Derrick Henry and the weapons they have. So that was my top 10. There it is. There. So now we're gonna throw it over back to John.
Well, real quick
Yeah, yeah.
before we come to me, I was actually interested in this because on my list I have it
Sorry,
flipped,
forget what
but
I
I
said.
do want to know a little more of an explanation of why you actually put Dak above Lamar. I had Lamar above Dak, and I'm a Cowboys fan,
Yeah,
so
I just
it was hard for me to do that because I would love to put him in the top 5, but I didn't, and you didn't either. But I want to know why you put him above Lamar.
I just more consistent of a thrower of the football. Yeah, and once again, it's tough because at Dallas asks Dak to throw the football a lot more
Right,
as opposed, and they built around him. They gave him Amari. We can all agree that the receiving core is better in Dallas than it is,
way better.
and also just the general they have a better concepts, as opposed to Baltimore where that's their biggest weakness. Um, and but regardless, just watching them throw, yeah, Dak is just a better, more natural thrower of the ball, and that's why I put. It is a quarterback. As great as
Right.
Lamar is running the ball, I think that's. And then once again, I don't put this on Lamar. I think this is more on Greg Roman, their offensive coordinator, and really just their front office for not getting him the support he needs to make the pass game better. But yeah, I think that's the reason that Lamar and the gang have. We've seen them, be slowed down or have early exits in the playoffs, is because you got to be able to sit in the pocket and throw the ball downfield, and that their offense just doesn't do that or hasn't
Right.
evolved that way. So
All
yeah,
right.
it was really tough. Like I said, it's just like
Yeah.
because it's like it's not Lamar's fault really, but I just don't see it enough. So
Yeah. I think
that's
it's
why it's
tough
that.
too for Dak because he looked so good last year before the ankle injury. Obviously, I mean the team was losing, but their offense was number one statistically before he got hurt. And so I think it was just such a small sample size that it's like hard to truly know where to put him based off of that year. So then you're going even further back, where some of these guys you get to go off of last year, right? If we went further back for Josh Allen, he's not top five, but because of last year, he is. So,
And that's
uh,
progression too, because some people felt like
right.
he only had one good year, but like he grew from the year. I think that's the
And
big thing. It's not an anomaly. It's like he grew into what he became.
I feel like too, the whole one good year thing, like his year two is not that bad. I feel like it gets really overblown. He had over 20 touchdowns. I don't know the exact number. And he had less, he didn't have double digit picks, which he did the year before. So like he turned the ball over less. He threw way more touchdowns. The fumble numbers were still bad, but like that, I don't feel like I necessarily blame a quarterback for fumbling a lot because they're not supposed to be running a ton. And I don't think like that if a quarterback fumbles a lot, that's not my biggest concern, right? Like if he's really accurate, if he's got arm strength, all that kind of stuff, I'm not as concerned about the fumbling. I think that's something we can fix. Um, so anyway, I just think the year two sentiments on Josh Allen, I think it's really overblown. I heard this one guy on Fox Sports Radio comparing it to Daniel Jones year two, and I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, like
Um,
sorry, and yeah, like just in regards to that too, like his best receiver is what John Brown, and Cole Beasley. We all think Cole Beasley is a solid NFL receiver, but you're not going to get far with Cole Beasley as your number one receiver. It's just
no,
he's a complimentary receiver, and he's great at that. And that's we saw last
yeah,
season. I mean, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, and Beasley. Now this year, obviously they had Emmanuel Sanders. So, yeah, Josh Allen's for real. Like
yeah,
I think we need to accept that, or not us, but people in general need to accept that.
right.
So, all right, now I'm throwing to your list if you are ready.
I am. All right,
Floor is
so
yours.
uh, I'll start from the top, one and two, just like you, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. I know that Aaron Rodgers just won MVP, but just Mahomes, the
Yeah,
stuff he's able to do, I mean, it's just crazy. And so I got to put him there. And Aaron Rodgers, and that's no slight on him. He's so crazy too. But I think everyone would probably agree that Aaron Rodgers is no longer really in his prime because prime Aaron Rodgers was even better than he is now, which is,
yeah,
crazy to say. Uh, so those are my one and two. Number three, I got Russell Wilson. And after one and two, the top five was really hard. I knew I was going to put Wilson, Watson, and Allen, but it was just really hard to where I was going to rank the three. I went with Wilson because I think that peak Russell Wilson is like he's just unbeatable. Obviously, last year in the second half of the season, and it sort of started to become a trend over the last few years. He starts off super well in the second half. I think he just slows down. But I've never been a big fan of the offensive coordinators that he's had. I'm hoping that this year with the new one, it's different. But I just feel like their schemes are always so basic, and so by the end of the year, the other teams have sort of figured them out and know how to beat them. I mean, obviously, with a guy who's Russell Wilson's caliber, you'd hope that he'd be able to overcome that. But I also just think this offense requires him to do so much that I cut him some slack. Now, if it happens again this year, we'll see. Deshaun Watson, I put him at 4. Obviously, it's a very it was just hard of where do we put Deshaun Watson because of all the off the field stuff. But if we completely eliminate that, I think that he's just a monster on the field. I mean, there's a reason that he's the third highest paid QB in the NFL, was the second highest paid before Dak. And yeah, he's just an absolute beast. Makes a lot of holes look really, you don't really notice them when he's playing at his peak. Same with Josh Allen, though. I mean, if I see Josh Allen do what he did last year again this year, and unfortunately for Deshaun Watson, he's probably not going to be playing, then I'm going to put Josh Allen above Deshaun. But yeah, his year last year was just monstrous. I know that some people are gonna be like, well, that was his only year really playing at like a top 10, top 5 level. But it was just so impressively good. Like that's not something that really ever happens in the NFL to where a quarterback goes from, for the most part, inaccurate to just a monster, just hitting his receivers on point throughout the entire season, looking like an MVP level candidate. That's not a fluke kind of a jump that he made because they don't really have a run game, and outside of Stephon Diggs, like we said, they don't really have that many great receivers. Their tight end's not amazing. Their offensive line's not amazing. Like there's nothing really special about their offense except for Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Number 6 is Tom Brady. We're both kind of in agreement there. I mean, Tom's great. His leadership, his intangibles, all those kind of things. But just if we eliminate all those factors, right, like the accomplishments, the team accomplishments, just look at him as an individual quarterback. I don't think he has the talent these days to be a top 5 QB. And that's no shot at Tom because we know that he's the greatest winner when it comes to the NFL. And obviously he's 44 years old, so no one expects him to be at his peak right now.
Yeah, he's not running the Josh Allen, Russell
Yeah,
Wilson, Deshaun Watson, or even Mahomes offenses where they're gonna run around, do boots and stuff. Sorry, don't know why I meant that.
yeah. And then I put Lamar at 7 above Dak. I have Dak at 8. To me, the differentiator there was just the MVP season that I saw out of Lamar. I think that just gives me the edge for him because I think his running ability is just so incredibly elite. And I think that Dak has a lot of really great qualities, but I think I'm still waiting for that one full, like put together season to where he just dominates at that top level like Josh Allen did last year. He's had some really awesome years. But I think compared to most QBs on this list too, he's also had a lot of really good offensive talent around him. And I, that's no shot at Dak, but like I said, I think last year was the year where it was really going to be his team as opposed to like Zeke's team, because for the longest time the Cowboys were so built around Ezekiel Elliott and the run game. And last year, like I said, it was Dak's team. He had sort of fully taken over. Felt like he was the best player on the offense outside of the linemen. But linemen can only do so much. Quarterback's more important of a position. So it felt like last year was supposed to be that year, but the injury happened and it's unfortunate. So now I'm hoping that this year can be that year to where maybe he can elevate himself into that top 5 conversation with a fully put together complete year playing at that elite level. After that, Ryan Tannehill, numbers don't lie. I mean, obviously he has Derrick Henry and the offense is focused around him. And that's, sort of like how Dak used to be with Zeke. But his numbers in the Titans offense, he's had numbers comparable to Patrick Mahomes, and no one's saying he's Patrick Mahomes, and that's why I have him so much further below him. But he's still so incredibly efficient. He wins games, and there have been moments where we've seen the other teams have been winning late in games, and the Titans can't run the ball anymore. And he's put the team on his back when he needs to. So Ryan Tannehill, absolutely a top 10 quarterback. After that 10 spot for me got really hard. It was between Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, and Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
I couldn't put Justin there quite yet because, I've done this throughout my rankings. I need more. I can't just see 1 year and put you there. So I eliminated him. I really wanted Kyler Murray there. He won me a fantasy championship last year. My team was named Kyler the Creator, so he's my team's namesake. So I really like Kyler Murray. I thought he was going to be monster last year, and he was. But ultimately, when it comes to running quarterbacks, I tend to be a little skeptical after their like one big breakout year because I want to see how the NFL adjusts to them. For Lamar Jackson, it hasn't really been an issue so far, although even for him, we've seen other teams have forced them into certain play styles that are not favorable for him. And all of a sudden, that's knocked him down from an MVP level to borderline top 5 for most people. So yeah, I want to see how Kyler responds this year. Also, maybe it's a little of the Cliff Kingsbury factor. I felt like there was a lot of times where that Cardinals offense just got kind of stale, and that's nothing on Kyler. But I would love to see more of what Kyler could do because I think there is more that he is capable of when it comes to reading the defense, certain route combinations, all these kind of things that we're not really able to see out of the Cardinals offense so far. So put Matthew Stafford above him because also I just think that Matthew Stafford has just dealt with such just garbage around him for so long, and he's still a baller, and I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks. And I think, and maybe I'm jumping the gun on this a little bit, but I think this year with McVay, the Rams offense, I think he could have a career best year this season. So that's my rankings. Aaron, I don't know if you have any more to say about the quarterbacks.
No, I mean, like I kind of alluded to, that those 3 were right there for me and mine. It was real tough, and like I said, I think just unfortunately, I think we all know that Kyler can do more. It's just
Yeah.
we haven't seen it, and I think it's because of Cliff Kingsbury. Let's just be honest; they have the weapons. It's just we haven't seen that. And then yeah, Herbert. I mean, we're both high on Herbert. Both love him. Um, he almost made my top 10, and then Stafford too. I don't think I had him in my top 10. He was very close. Just, but yeah, I mean, all three of those guys could usually make the jump in this year. Like we mentioned before, there's just gone is the day and age where it's like rare to find a quality quarter. There's a lot of good quarterbacks nowadays. I mean, not saying every quarterback's good for starting for every team, but there's a lot more filtering into the league, and that's just because popularity of football, 7-on-7s, things like that. So that is our quarterback rankings. And so now, John, are we ready to go to the next part?
Yeah, I was going to say that
Yeah.
for the quarterbacks too, gone is the day and age where QBs are coming into the league and they have to sit for 2-3 years. I mean, we saw with Justin Herbert last year, and we've seen with plenty of quarterbacks in this league. Like guys can come in and they're ready to play right now. There are still some examples of people who sit, like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. They sat behind a QB for a year. But I mean, for the most part, like Dak Prescott came in, played great in preseason. Tony Romo gets hurt, starts the whole year, hasn't lost the job since. Justin Herbert, Tyrod Taylor played one game. Game two, Herbert, you got to step in, ready for the whole year. Joe Burrow, like all these quarterbacks coming in.
Russell Wilson. Russell
Russell
Wilson's a
Wilson,
prime
yeah,
example.
like they're ready to play. And I think that's why, I mean, I said it on the last episode when we talked about the NFC North. That's why I'm leaning more towards Justin Fields starting sooner rather than later, it's just because that's the way the NFL goes with the QBs on the rookie contracts. And with how good they're coming into the NFL these days, it's just see what you have early and then adjust from there. Because maybe after year 3, you got to move on. And we're seeing that with some teams this year, right? Like Daniel Jones, it's a make or break year. Um, Dwayne Haskins, it would have been, but obviously he flamed out. And so,
And Dwayne's one of the rare ones where I think we're gonna have because he looked okay. He looked like he's cleaned
yeah,
up some things in preseason, but is like you mentioned, he's might be one of the rare ones we see that it's gonna take him a couple years. But even like Drew Lock too, he's on it. I mean, he
yep.
is on a make or break year, and right now Teddy's a starter, so we'll see what happens with him there.